Hey everybody, welcome back to World History with Mr. Finn. We are switching it up. We are getting away from the Mediterranean Sea in Europe, where we have pretty much been for most of the year talking about our early civilizations. But we are starting to expand. We've gotten into the future. We're around, 1300 or so in that in that area of the world. But today we are looking at the Americas. There are other continents on this planet, and two of which are in the Americas. There's two of them. We happen to live in, we have North, I'll just write it out here. We have North America and we have South America. So there's not too many notes today, so just bear with me here. But the Americas are comprised or made up of two different continents, North America and South America. Now, they are going to develop their own unique civilizations that exist in these two continents that are much different than what we've looked at really since the beginning of the year. We have a couple things that happen in Central America, South America area that are going to be similar to our large civilizations in Europe. But today, let's take a quick look at what's happening in the Americas. The Americas are going to be populated by people who migrated here during the Ice Age thousands of years ago. When the Ice Age was going on, they were able to come into the Americas through what is called the Bering Land Bridge, which we don't necessarily need to know the Bering Land Bridge, but the point is they came to the Americas basically for food, because here's what the people in the Americas were doing here, how they got here, and that is they are what you would call hunters and gathering. Hunting and gathering, hunters and gatherers, you get one of the two. So what does this mean? Hunting and gathering to live and get food to survive is going to be based on this type of lifestyle, which is they are going to be nomads. Nomads are people who move. This is a definition for a quiz. Place to place. All right, so what does that mean? Why do they move place to place? Why don't they just stand still and grow crops and have these huge civilizations? Well, it goes for thousands of years of humanity. I'm in the way here, sorry. Thousands of years of humanity, this is how people first survive. So they move place to place because they're looking for food. So you follow the animals on their migrating patterns, and you hunt, and then you have food, you pack up, and you continue to follow the animals. And these animals ended up coming over the Bering Land Bridge into the Americas. Hence, the people who were following them, these nomads, followed the herds and animals into the Americas, and this is where they settled, and this is where they live. Now, important to understand this, with these people, these hunter and gathering peoples in the Americas, they are going to have many, there are thousands of cultures, all right? They are in smaller groups. So when we looked at things like medieval Europe and going back to Rome and even like Greece way back, these people were in one spot. Their population grew, and they had their distinct culture in their city life. Now, in the Americas, hunter and gatherers and nomads usually operate in small family clans. So these Native American groups are going to develop different cultures because there's going to be, the sizes could range from, 100 people to maybe 500 people, but that's a much less number than thousands that we were seeing in some of our earlier civilizations. And because, the same amount of people were here, but they were in smaller groups, you're going to get a ton of different cultures. And another thing that is going to not help, but really just create all of these cultures is climate and the land itself. The Americas, in general, have many I guess, climates. Many climates, many land masses. Some areas are colder, some areas are warmer, some get more rain, some are mountainous. Because of all of these different geographical differences in the Americas, these cultures are going to develop in a lot of different ways. And you are going to be looking at some of these Native American groups today for your assignment. But it is important to understand what is happening in the Americas is much different than what's happening in other places on the globe at this point. And this goes back, these Native American groups were existing in America all the way back to the beginning of our class. When we were talking about early humans and everything like that, people in the Americas are here while all of the stuff that we have talked about was going on. And they kind of, maintained the same, lifestyle that people had always had. They didn't, create, huge civilizations and things like that. Mostly. We will talk about a few. But for today, what I want you to do is to take a look at some of these Native American groups. Now, these cultures that are going to pop up, just to give you an idea of what we're talking about. One, these are going to be Native American tribes. That is going to be how you are able to look it up. Now, they wouldn't consider themselves Native Americans in the sense of, they would just be like, hey, this is just me living here. The term Native Americans comes from when the rest of the world comes to the Americas. So, they're just American. But now we use the term Native Americans to differentiate the idea of, the people who were here in the Americas before Europe and other places, came to the Americas. So they're going to be in groups. We use the term tribes. There was also the term clans. Clans is, equals, tribes. Clans are like small family units of these groups of people. Now, these Native American tribes, these clans, these groups, again, developing their own distinct cultures throughout North America. You are going to see many more as you move down, to Central America, like modern day Mexico. We're going to start to see, actual large civilizations. We'll talk about the Aztecs and the Mayans and things like that. If you have American history, we have talked a little bit about the Aztecs in the beginning of the class, and that's kind of where we're mixing here. We're getting to that point where American history, the class, starts kind of at that point of the Aztecs. But to understand, the different groups, what I want you to do today is look up five, I guess, tribes, 5 groups. And I want you to look up 5 of them and tell me, 2 things about each. So, I will tell you a couple names, but it should be easy to look up Native American tribes, groups of Native Americans here in the Americas. But you will have, for example, the Inuit or Eskimos will be north. You have the woodland tribes in what's now the Midwest of like Indiana and Ohio. You have mound building tribes, the Iroquois, the Hopewell. In Arizona here, we will see tribes like the Anasazi and the Hopi tribes. And then again, we will make our way south to, modern day Mexico, and moving in that direction, we'll see larger civilizations. But I want you to look up 5 Native American tribes, 5 Native American groups, and give me just 2 facts about each. This way, you get an idea of, the different groups that we're looking at, the different Native American tribes. And this is what I do want for your assignment today. So as we move along, we'll take a look at some of the things that they do, how they do live, what are some distinct differences between them, because again, there's thousands of different cultures. So some will continue to hunt and gather. Some will have certain areas where they live. Some will begin to farm and stay, in one place. So there is a ton of different things. And like I say, climate matters a lot. Like here in Arizona, we start to see Native Americans utilizing like irrigation canals and things like that for water because it was scarce. So on that note, we'll take a look at that. But first, I want you to go ahead and look up and discover any 5 Native American tribes and give me just 2 facts about each. And as we move on, we'll see a lot of these different tribes coming together. And again, move down into the Aztecs and the Mayas and things like that. So on that note, get this to me today for attendance and participation purposes, and I will see you next class.